everybody so much for coming today. I see we have a lot of people who were here with our April program. Thank you for returning, and we're looking forward to some more exciting programs. Welcome to the intermission room. My name is Joanna Kerr. I'm the Executive Director of the North Andover Historical Society. We're so fortunate to have incredibly talented people who live in our little corner of the Merrimack Valley. In All the World's a Stage, our theatre program, lifelong North Andover resident Robert E. Kellen, MD, eye surgeon, novelist, and playwright, has generously offered the scripts of several of his fantastic plays to the North Andover Historical Society here in the amazing solar-powered Worden Theatre at the Stevens Centre to run into 2024. In collaboration with the Acting Out Theatre Company of Lawrence, whose mission it is to reward local talent with the opportunity to be part of the theatre experience. This year, Robert Kellen will direct staged readings of each of his plays with Acting Out actors cast by Acting Out President Linda Schoonmaker. Today's play is called The Intermission Room. You may have noticed that there's a lot happening in this building at the Stevens Centre. Before you leave, please check out our exhibits, some of the programs we've got. We have a list of our upcoming events out in the lobby area, and 1646 bookstore for some great books and gifts. Stop at Diane's Cafe on the way out for a delightful coffee or pastry, and she's open in the cafe when we're open Wednesday through Sunday. Please check out our website for additional North Andover Historical Society programs as they are added, and follow us on Facebook. No non-profit can function without members and volunteers. If you like what we're doing and would like to be a part, there is a membership application and a volunteer sign-up sheet in the lobby. We would love to add you to our communications list and our volunteer opportunities newsletter. You can pick and choose the area of interest, which includes school education programming, archives, welcoming visitors, just to name a few. I just want to remind everybody of the safety and courtesy considerations before we get started. Please put your cell phones and any other noisemakers on silent during this program. Please refrain from eating or drinking in the theatre. And in case of an emergency, there are two exits. The first is the one that you came in on, and the second is here on my left at the front of the theatre. Many thanks to playwright and director Robert E. Kellen, the Acting Out Theatre Company, and North Andover CAM for making this program possible and worthwhile. And lastly, many, many thanks to the Ash Foundation, for without their donation, we would not be able to run these series of plays. Introducing now Dr. Robert E. Kellen. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm very happy to see you all. I have just a few comments I want to make. I've been asked several times who gives me ideas to write a play, and the truth is that there are events that all of us witness, but they have a different effect on us. For instance, just 2 nights ago, and my cast members were witness to this, I came here before anyone else was here, and I was looking for the props. I had given Joanne a case of empty vodka bottles, and I knew she put them somewhere, so I thought I'd go up to her office. Well, I went up there, and there were about 20, 25 people. They were sitting in a circle, and there was a moderator in the middle. So I didn't want to be obtrusive. I went up, and I walked around them. I tried her door. That was locked, another door. So as I was doing that, the moderator said, "Can I help you?" So I said, "No, I don't want to be bothered. I have 2 bottles of vodka up here that I need for tonight." And everybody turned at me. As I was walking out, I realized I had to walk into an AA meeting. This is the truth, right? And I came down I said, that's the start of a phenomenal play. Because it's real. You see, the thing about a play is that it has to be based on something that you've witnessed and you've seen. Now, in the intermission room, we've been to theater. I think this was the one in New York, it was in London, someplace. Anyway, in between acts, I had to run out to do a quick errand. I came back, barely made the second act, but as I was going by the intermission room, or I think it was in London, it's called the interval bar. I was going by, I looked and there were two people seated there, a woman and a man, and they had full drinks in front of them. And I said, they're not going anywhere. And I left, but that thought stayed with me. So I came back, and then again the muse heads and I decided to write a play. So what could they possibly be talking about? Well, they're going to talk about acting, the skill of acting. They're going to talk about writing. I saw there was a computer in front of one of the gentlemen, and that facility. They're going to talk about life's experiences, about religion. They're going to talk about probably critics. Now, apropos of that this morning, if any of you looked at the Boston Globe this morning, in there, again, rather serendipitously, there were two affirmations of some of the dialogue that you're going to hear tonight. One of them has to do with critics, art critics. There is the royal portrayist, his name is Jonathan Yee, or Y-E-O, who just unveiled his portrait of King Charles III. One critic said, let me quote, I don't want to be wrong. One critic said it's fresh and vibrant, and it's a wonderful escape from traditionalism. Fresh and vibrant. The other critic in The Guardian wrote, it's a masterpiece of shallowness. So how do you walk away from that? How do you take that away? What is the effect of a critic on anybody else in this audience? But this is today's paper. And regarding some of them may appear to be anti-clerical or religious, and to affirm some of the dialogue in today's play, in today's paper, the Vatican Doctrine Office, I think it was Cardinal Manuel Fernandez, announced yesterday apparitions or other perhaps miraculous sightings of private experiences, and the Church grants the faithful freedom to pay attention or not. Okay, so the individuality with religious beliefs and whatever. Just keep these thoughts in mind as you listen to the dialogue of these marvelous actors that were cast by Linda Schoonmaker, and I'm going to present her. And thank you again so much for being here.
Okay, I think we're ready, right? I just wanted to say thanks again to the, first one, Linda Schoonmaker. And the president of Acting Out Theater Company, located in Lawrence. We started here in North Andover about 23 years ago. In July, we'll be celebrating 23 years. In the bottom of the church, Trinitarian Congregational Church on Elm Street, if any of you are familiar with that. And we've come a long way, but, and I'm very pleased to be part of this program with Bob and the History Center. It's amazing. A lot of people, a lot of time gone into it, and I appreciate what they've done. I want to send my thanks to them, as well as the Ash Charitable Foundation for supporting us. Without them, I wouldn't be able to support our actors. And it's also been a part of our scholarship program for Acting Out. We do supply scholarships to a lot of children in the local, in the Merrimack Valley specifically, that are in need. But all that aside, are we ready for the intermission room? Yes, we are, right? So I'm going to introduce my actors today. Right here, playing the part of Rip, is Elvis Collins, and he just actually closed the show with us. If anyone's familiar with the musical Anything Goes, he was one of our leading roles in that, so I'd like to give him a little... And secondly, Actually, this is Jane England, who was also just in Anything Goes, another leading role. They just literally closed the show last Sunday, and here they are for you. So let's give her a round of applause. She's playing the role of Marlene, and I'll give you the introduction to the show. The intermission room of a Broadway theater. We can hear an announcement that the second act is about to begin, urging everyone to return to their seats. There are 2 tables with 1 person at each, and both are ignoring the announcement. We see Rip sitting and typing at a small computer at one table, and we see Marlene sitting and sipping a martini at the other.
You don't like it either.
Oh, sorry, you were talking to me?
Yes. I see you're not going back in there for the end of this theatrical disaster either.
Well, I agree it's not spellbinding. I wouldn't call it a disaster. The reason I'm not going back in is because I have to meet a deadline. I didn't realize that first act would take so long.
Long? Ugh. It was interminable. And if they keep performing it like the way they have, the second act will be like Chinese waterboarding. Ugh. The critics will rename it A Long Day's Journey into Boredom.
Oof. That's rather scathing. Hey, I agree it's a bit lackluster, but the dialogue is well written and so is the storyline.
Yeah. It's not the play. It's the uninspired acting.
Oh.
The leading lady is merely mouthing the words. She doesn't feel what the playwright was feeling when he wrote those words. So how can she convincingly convey those emotions to the audience?
Huh. You know, we should introduce ourselves. My name is Rip.
I'm Marlene, named after Marlene Dietrich. Pleased to meet you, Rip.
So, Marlene, you think uninspired acting is the problem with this production?
I know it is. When I was in this play, both it and I won a Tony.
Sorry. You acted in this play?
Darling, I starred in this play.
Oh. I apologize. I probably should know who you are. Been away from the city for a while.
There's no need to apologize. Anyone who has been in this brutally fickle profession for as long as I have knows that you can go from a standing ovation and pink roses one night to receiving a pink slip the next.
To some extent, I empathize with you. Been on kind of a roller coaster ride, too.
Oh, you've been in theater.
Oh, I suppose. In some way I have, but no, I used to be a priest. Now I'm a journalist. I won a Pulitzer one year. And now they've got me writing this stuff, and if that doesn't fit into the definition of a roller coaster ride, I don't know what does.
Well, what are you writing?
They made me food critic. Can you imagine? Guy who nowadays just opens a can of baked beans for dinner is now a damn food critic. And not only that, the publisher insists that if I want to keep this job, I write only positive reviews of restaurants who are big advertisers in the paper. Like this one I'm writing right now. I just hope he doesn't die of ptomaine poisoning before I finish this review. Please could print out directions to the nearest emergency room on every menu.
Oh, wait. Okay, you need to hold on. I will pour us each another drink. This plot is beginning to sound better than any play that I have ever read.
The bartender's gone. They've closed access to the room. They want us out of here.
Okay, darling, that applies to the rest of the audience, but not to us. Carlos, who is in charge of this theater, is a longtime fan.
Oh.
He gets me house seats to all the performances and lets me stay here as long as I want. He also gives me the key to the room and to the booze closet.
What are you drinking?
Vodka martini. Thank you. All right. I think it's finished and full of more lies than I ever heard in any confessional.
Oh. A confessional. Wow, I can only imagine what's discussed in there. Sounds incredibly depressing.
Oh, you're right for the most part. But there were a few comedic moments.
Like what?
Well, one Saturday afternoon, I had a 4 p.m. tea time. I was about to leave, and an elderly woman came in and said she had committed adultery. I asked, well, how old are you? And she said, 83 years old. I asked her when this happened, and she said it was 40 years ago. I was so upset she was making me miss a golf game, I had to ask her what she was doing coming in now to tell me this. Confess. She said she just likes to talk about it.
Oh, that's hysterical.
There's another one that was, I guess, funny, but only in retrospect. I was frightened to death at the time. An afternoon I was in the box, and I was there with Claire, the woman I'm in love with.
Oh, the plot thickens. Go on, but later I'm going to have to hear the backstory of you and Lady Claire.
Oh, yeah. We'll see about that, but as I was saying, Claire decided to come and see me, and because there was no one else in the church, she was penitent in the box with me. The bishop came in to have me hear his confession at that very moment. Can imagine how crazy that was. I don't even want to think about what his confession could have been for, and if we ever got caught.
You know, the more I'm hearing, the more I think I was right.
About what?
When I said your story sounds better than the plot of a lot of plays I've read.
Oh, sure. I can see it now. Opening scene. Protagonist. Dying of food poisoning. She ate at a poorly reviewed restaurant. She enters the confessional to say she has shot the reviewer of the restaurant and wants to be absolved by a defrocked priest. Hold on. Oh, I just got a brilliant idea. We can call it Death of a Food Critic. Brilliant. Hey, just keep these drinks coming, and in 2 shakes of a cocktail mixer, we'll have another Tony-winning play for you to star in.
Okay, hold on. Back up a minute. Let's just think about the 2 plays that you so irreverently alluded to. Pun intended. Long Day's Journey into Night and Death of a Salesman. What made them masterpieces?
Brilliant dramatists, I suppose, and I didn't see one of those in the mirror this morning when I was shaving.
Maybe that's because you weren't shaving close enough. I mean, close enough to cut yourself. See the blood. Feel the pain. There's the difference between the average playwright and a brilliant dramatist.
So the sword, well, in this case the razor blade, mightier than the pen?
Only if it cuts through the superfluous bullshit too many playwrights try to distinguish as dialogue. And only if it exposes the feelings to which each member of the audience can relate. Because without that sword, the pen is essentially out of ink. Also, what you saw in the mirror was a brilliant Pulitzer Prize-winning writer, not a playwright. That problem I can handle.
Oh, you mean you seriously want to convert this, to use your word, bullshit we are talking about here, into a play?
No, not me. I don't put the words down on the paper. I lift them off the page. Or for your benefit, should I say, I resurrect them?
Oh, I see you're not going to let that priest thing go.
You bet your sweet ordained ass I'm not. It's an important part of this story you'll be writing.
Oh, you got to be joking. No, you can't be serious. I haven't got the funds or the time to take on this kind of project. I'm just about begging for every piece of work I can get just to make ends meet. I told you, I am not a playwright.
First of all, I am not joking. Secondly, you are a writer. And all I'm proposing is from now on, instead of writing about some half-baked lasagna or some dishwater-based minestrone soup, you use your talent and record some of your most interesting experiences in life.
What makes you think they were interesting?
They will be interesting only if you're able to share the emotions and feelings you were experiencing when, for instance, you were deciding to become a priest and later deciding to leave the priesthood. And when you were falling in love. I believe you said her name was Claire?
I'm not sure I could do that, especially when it comes to Claire. She was the best thing that ever came into my life, or anyone's life, for anyone who ever met her.
What the hell are you talking about? You've already proved you can do it. Of course, it's not easy. I remember reading that someone once asked Hemingway what his definition of writing was, and he said, "You sit and bleed." Mm-hmm. But that's only the first element necessary for creating great theater.
Well, if it's worse than bleeding, I'm almost afraid to ask, what is the second thing?
You're looking at her. I want you to create a detailed word portrait of Claire so that I can get to know her too. I want to be able to walk, to talk, to laugh, to cry, and express love like Claire. I want the audience to leave the theater completely understanding why she was so pivotal in your life. Up to now, you haven't told me much about her. What I'm asking is that you give me a framework on which I can build her humanity. Oh, don't you just want to memorialize her?
Yes, I'd like that. But before going any further, I'd like another drink.
Okay. Start by telling me the first thing that comes to mind when you think about her.
Her smile. Smile usually led to a gentle laugh. Then there was that attentive way she always listened to me. She always made eye contact. She'd often reach out, hold my hand, reassuring me not only of her presence, but her support, no matter what.
What was her first name, or her full name?
Claire Cortland. Although when she painted, she only signed the paintings Cortland.
Ah, so she was an artist. That alone tells me so much. So what did she paint?
Abstracts. She called them scapes.
Landscape, seascape?
No, I told you they were abstract. The beauty of abstract is that each viewer has a different interpretation of them. I can't say if they were landscapes or seascapes, but I can tell you they were all her escapes.
Escaping from what?
Oh, torment. She suffered for having married someone she was not in love with. Oh, and he had an addictive personality. Someone who totally depended on her for everything, but on whom she could depend for nothing.
What kind of addiction?
Oh, you name it. Alcohol, drugs, gambling. Oh, and he was jealous. Violently jealous.
Well, how violent?
He would beat her, sometimes just for casually socializing with another man. In fact, that's all how it started with her and with me.
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Well, one evening at one of her gallery shows, her husband thought she was spending too much time with a potential buyer, and after the show, when she got home, he was drunk, and he beat her pretty badly.
How did you get involved in this?
The only place he allowed her to go without him was to church. So she came to see me the day after that beating, and she asked for advice.
Well, what did you tell her? I would have told her to shoot the bastard and plead self-defense.
I told her I was willing to work with her and to help her move through all of this, and she began seeing me once a week.
And Frank never suspected anything.
Oh, not for a while.
During which time you two were becoming close?
Extremely.
You know, the more you're sharing with me, the more I know that this is going to be great. It's going to be different than anything else I've ever done.
Why is it so different?
Don't you see? With you being right here with me, I'll get to know Claire firsthand. Oh, I've never been able to know a character that way before. I see the potential for some memorable lines, ones that will bring back to memory the entire play, like in Tennessee Williams' Streetcar Named Desire, when he has Blanche say, "I've always relied on the kindness of strangers."
The only line I can think of now is, I've always relied on the kindness of vodka. That will bring back to memory our great play, which we'll title Two Wacky People in the Intermission Room. Come to think of it, that pretty much sums up what's happening here. I mean, we just met, and you see us standing on stage accepting Tony Awards while I'm seeing us trying to avoid the tomatoes and rotten eggs from an audience demanding a refund. Yes, two wacky people, that's it. Definitely appropriate. I'm sorry, this is moving too fast for me and in a direction I am not comfortable with.
No. Look, I apologize. I'm sure talking about Claire is difficult. So how about telling me some more about your career as a priest? Were you shooting for the Vatican?
Oh, no, but the Vatican was shooting for me.
How come?
Oh, for a lot of reasons. Truth is, I should have realized right from the beginning that that was not the life for me.
Go on. I'm all ears.
It's not all you are.
Well, I certainly see right off the bat one of the reasons you weren't cut out for a celibate life.
You're right, and that was the major reason and the one that ultimately led to my leaving.
You fell in love with Claire.
Yes, but not before falling out of love.
With whom?
Whom? The big whom in the sky. Him, her, it.
So you stopped believing.
Oh, I didn't say that. Everybody believes in something or someone. Do you believe in whom?
No.
But you believe in something or someone. I know that for a fact.
Oh, how do you know that?
It's a universal need. It's a hunger everyone has. Needs to be satisfied in one way or another.
Well, maybe in my case, it's not a hunger, but a thirst. And it's for this.
Oh, no, you're wrong about that. What is satisfying your need, beside the vodka, I believe you're wearing around your neck. I couldn't help but notice it. It has the letters, yeah, I was right, CB. I don't believe those are your initials, Marlene.
They stand for Christopher Bancroft.
Oh.
He was my drama coach. I owe so much of my success to him. He was not only my mentor, but he was my dearest friend and confidant. This was the fob he wore on his pocket watch chain, and he always used that watch when he was coaching me, insisting that timing was key to great acting. That was made clear to me one opening night.
How?
Well, I was playing Maggie in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and responding to Brick's line about he and I living together in Big Daddy's house, when Christopher told me to pause before responding to Brick and to walk around the bedroom and slowly and then turn to Brick and say, "We aren't living here. We just occupy the same cage." That timing allowed the audience to share Maggie's pain. I could actually feel their response.
Why did, or when did he give you that pendant?
He gave me the fob when I visited him near the end of his life. He was in hospice care. He was dying of AIDS. He told me if I carried it with me during all of my performances, it would remind me that pauses were often much more dramatic than the dialogue. I always used to keep it in a pocket, but this one performance, I forgot it, and I was terrible that night. That's when I made this pendant, so I'd never be without it.
I want you to see this.
Oh, what is it? Huh.
Medal my mother gave me when I was a boy. I was going to get my driver's license. It's supposed to be something to protect me from getting into an automobile accident. His name is also Christopher.
We're both wearing a Christopher.
And we're wearing them because we believe that by doing so, they'll protect us. I rest my case.
What case?
You, like everyone else, is a believer in something. Some entity capable of aiding you towards achieving a goal or away from some discomfort. I don't care what you call it. That belief, they're all fundamentally the same.
Then, if they're all the same, why were you willing to dedicate your entire life to just one?
Because, well, at the beginning, I didn't realize that fact. I was brainwashed to believe there was only one way to get into heaven. Then I discovered that wasn't the route for me.
So you took a detour.
Oh, no. I took a U-turn.
Oh, that could be dangerous. Did your Christopher protect you?
Oh. That's interesting. I never thought of it, but I suppose he did. I didn't get killed, but a lot of my preconceptions did.
Ah. So when did you see that detour sign?
In the confessional.
Ooh, isn't it pretty dark in there?
Darker than you can imagine.
Oh. So when did it happen?
The afternoon, Claire came into the confessional and told me she was obsessed with thoughts of killing her husband and herself.
I had thought of killing both my husbands. Thought the alimony was too great a deterrent.
Do you really want to hear this or not?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I definitely want to hear this. Okay, so what did you do?
Well, we started our weekly counseling sessions, and after a while, the sessions became intense.
Thinking intimate is a better word, right?
Love. Love is the best word.
So you left the church.
Oh, no, not right away. Claire was still married, and I thought, foolishly, that I could carry on my ministry without it being affected.
So your counseling sessions became liaisons. Oh, where did they take place? Oh, not the church.
Oh, no. She and I used to meet at the little cottage by the lake. My parents left it to me. It's just outside the city. We had wonderful times until one afternoon, Frank followed her there and charged in with a gun. He was furious. He had been drinking heavily. We struggled. The gun went off and wounded Claire. The gun went off again, and it killed him.
Oh, that sounds awful. How badly was Claire hurt?
The bullet struck her spine. She became hemiplegic.
Were you charged with manslaughter?
No. No, they called it self-defense. Of course, the church asked me to leave. I would have anyway by then, just to take care of her. It was difficult, but we managed. She never complained. She was in constant pain, but she had a wonderful, wonderful positive attitude. She had neuropathy, but she just fought through it. It allowed us to enjoy life as best we could until the night she had a very severe stroke. She lived long enough to tell me that she really did love me, and she asked me to promise.
Promise what?
I don't know. She couldn't finish. That was her final word to me, promise.
Oh, gosh. Well, that must have been so horrible for you. Yeah, but at least her pain is finally over.
Yes, and that was where mine began.
I'm sure it was awful. Did you have anyone you could talk to?
There was, because even after I was defrocked, I could...
I'm sorry. You were what now?
Defrocked. That is what they call it when the church says, you are no longer a priest.
Oh, okay. I see. Go on.
Well, a number of my parishioners stayed in close touch with me. They were very, very supportive. One of them was a publisher of a widely circulated newspaper, and he encouraged me to write about my experiences. He said it would be cathartic. It took me a while, but he was right, and there was definitely something in that process that allowed me to better cope.
So now it is you confessing, and it was the public listening.
Well, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I suppose you're right.
So did they absolve you? If so, what kind of penance did they give you?
A penance. You're looking at my penance. A lonely ex-priest who saw his only real love die, along with whatever creative writing ability he may have had. because after letting it all out for the newspaper series and being asked to relive all that I wrote about when asked questions during all the interviews and everything that followed with the notoriety of a Pulitzer Prize, I was spent. I had to stop.
No, you did not stop. You hit the pause button. But the one thing you do have to stop is writing about indigestible food. Ugh. I want to get your prize-winning writing talent back.
I will have to petition both of our Christophers to make that happen. Speaking of whom, you told me that Christopher was your drama coach. How did you two become so close?
I was just starting my career, and I fell for this guy who was also in my acting class. You know, the old love at first sight story. Oh, he was very handsome and very rich. I did not find out until we got married that he was also very narcissistic, to the point that he would erupt at any criticism. One morning, he just punched me in the face after I made some remark about him losing his good looks. And I came to drama class with a nice shiner that I couldn't completely camouflage with the makeup. So Christopher was teaching the class. He asked me to stay after, and he listened very carefully to what I was going through, and he eventually gave me the strength to end the marriage. And a very profitable ending it was. Compassionate and so brilliant. Besides the importance of timing, Christopher, that I told you about before, he taught me how to be able to internalize the emotional and physical pain I had experienced, along with any joy and happiness that came into my life, and incorporate them into what he called an acting reserve. A reserve I could draw upon whenever the role I was playing demanded it. Images. He called them images. So, for instance, when he wanted me to express innocence, he told me to just picture a sleeping child. And once I did that, I could transform myself from a serial killer into a cloistered nun about to take her final vow. Hey!
What do you know about cloistered nuns
Okay,
and final vows?
More than you think. I played a cloistered nun once, and come to think of it, in the end, she turned out to be a serial killer. Now, let me tell you, playing the serial killer, well, that was easy for me. All I had to do was think about my 2 ex-husbands and a few of their lovers that followed. Oh, are you ready for another drink? I know I am.
Sure. But, don't we have to leave this place?
Darling, I already told you. We don't have to leave till we're ready to leave.
Oh.
And I'm just getting started. It's time for you to learn a little something about me.
Oh, I've already learned something that I didn't know before.
What's that?
Well, I've learned that sometimes the most enjoyable time you can have going to a play comes not from what takes place on stage, but who you meet and what can happen between acts. Off stage.
Well, come to think of it, I'll drink to that. And more so, I think I'll just drink to anything lately.
Fair.
But to get back to Christopher, he taught me that the most demanding job for a great actor is becoming your character to the extent that the character remains a part of you even after the show closes. You even find sometimes when you're about to do something, not even related to the play, you think about, how would that character do it?
This sounds like schizophrenia.
No, I don't know about schizophrenia, but it certainly must sound like some sort of form of craziness to anyone who isn't in the theater.
Well, yeah. How do you do that? How do you prepare to become somebody else?
Observation. After I've carefully read the playwright's description of the character and read her dialogue, I first try to think of someone I know or have known whose persona closely matches that of the character. Now, if no one comes to mind, I actually will go out and look for someone who I think resembles the person. I observe their posture. I watch how she walks, any hand gestures that she might use. I try to get an opportunity to listen. How does she speak? Any accents? Any inflections? I want to see how she interacts with other people. Does she make or avoid eye contact?
Now, where do you do all of this?
Depends on the character. For instance, once I was cast to play a high-end prostitute.
Oh.
So I would go and sit in a secluded corner of lounges in the most expensive hotels in the city that are frequented by successful businessmen. The perfect quarry for these ladies. I watched the action as it unfolded, usually at the bar, observing as much as I could before the couple headed for one of the hotel rooms. Now, I knew that I had mastered the role when at one of the lounges, the man who was to become my second husband sent me over a drink. The stupid things we do when we're young, right?
Stupid is right. You just told me you fell for a guy who picked you up at a bar known for its escorts and married him. Excuse me, but you don't need Freud to figure out that relationship wasn't going to last.
Well, there was another time that, I was asked to play a hemiplegic woman, which, unfortunately, you do know so much about. I knew nothing. So I volunteered at a rehab hospital for a couple of weeks, and I got to know some of the most courageous individuals I've ever known. They never spent time feeling sorry for themselves. They just focused on doing whatever was necessary to get better.
Claire never complained either. She's always expressed more concern about my well-being than her own, right up until the end.
I'm sure that was the promise she wanted you to make. She wanted you to promise her that you would take care of yourself.
You're probably right, you know. I could use that next drink. Where the hell is all this headed anyway?
Oh, this is headed to a sold-out box all out. Oh, I can see it now, can't you?
No, I can't. Look, all I want to see right now is another vodka martini.
Okay, just bear with me. We agreed to go slowly. You know, as hard as I try, I still can't figure out why you decided to become a priest.
First of all, I never agreed to anything. But my mother was very religious. My father deserted us when I was quite young. She worked hard as a seamstress. That way she could work from home and take care of me. And every night, I could see her praying in front of a small statue of the Holy Family. And she would always tell me that God would see us through as long as we did what he asks of us.
How ironic.
What do you mean?
Well, your mother prayed to the Holy Family, and you guys had a huge hole in your family caused by your father. How did you find out what God was asking of you?
That's what I went to seminary for, to discover just that. It's a process called discernment.
Mm-hmm. And what did he want from you? Your God.
Well, in the seminary, we're asked to give up our own lives, not to own them anymore, but to live for others.
Well, who the hell can do that?
Oh, I thought I could. I was doing a pretty good job of it, too. I was even coping with the most difficult consequences of the vocation. Loneliness. Then I met Claire. How about you? What made you choose acting?
Well, the cliche answer would be that I wanted to escape, that I had identity issues, but that's not true. In my case, anyway. Acting was the only way I could really express my creativity. The stage was my canvas, and the characters, they were my models, and the play was my palette of colors. And when I am performing, no other world exists. No other life exists, except for the one that I have worked hard to create.
You just answered your own question.
What do you mean?
Well, you asked me how I could give up ownership of my own life, live for others, and when you're on stage, you give up your own life, and you live for your audience members.
Well, I've never thought about it that way, but in a way, I suppose you're right. So I guess right now we're both defrocked. Which is kind of weird, because I can't remember the first time I ever got frocked. Now, I thought that was something everyone always remembered.
That's very funny. But I think it's about time we quit this craziness.
No. No way. We're already halfway there. We have the outline of the story. Yes. Two people running the gauntlet of disillusionment and disappointment to reach something more promising.
So, I guess you want this to be a comedy? That will be easy, because if you and I are the leads, then we already have a couple of clowns.
Oh, come on. Will you get serious? If you think about it, there are some very funny moments in your story. I mean, you can't even make up the two confessional episodes. The old widow reminiscing about her adultery, and the bishop confessing while Claire is in there fondling your rosary beads.
They were not funny at the time. I'm sure you've had some experiences that are funny more in retrospect.
Okay, I've had many, yes, and a few do stand out. Mm-hmm. Oh, like the time that I was wearing a pearl necklace during a serious drama. And it broke, and a pearl at a time fell to the stage. One pearl at a time. Well, I kept my composure, but then when Jason, the actor playing my lover, came over to embrace me, and he slipped on the pearls and landed on his ass. No, but the best was when I had a very dramatic exit, and I went to open the door, and the doorknob fell off in my hands. I was standing there just listening to the laughter of the audience. So I walked around the prop door, and I left the theater that night for the last time, and I swore I would never go back.
Left.
I left. But now, listening to what you've already shared with me about Claire, this makes me want to go back to the stage and do my best to allow the world to know her.
So who will play my part?
Oh, darling, I have an excellent actor in mind. He and I have performed in a few award-winning plays. We work well together, and the beauty of this collaboration is that you'll be able to coach him during rehearsals.
And how about there's one other minor obstacle? I told you I'm not a playwright.
I've got that covered too. I have a stable of talented playwrights who over the years and even recently have been begging me to get back on stage. You know, the most talented one, Margot Phillips. She will be able to take your writing and formulate some great dialogue. She will start with your Pulitzer Award memoirs and continue with what you will start writing as soon as you leave here.
I'm not making any promises, but if I do get on board, who the hell will produce all of this? Where is it going to be performed?
That's easy. As part of the divorce settlement from my second husband, I got ownership of a small off-Broadway theater where many Broadway hits first got their start.
Not only do you know how to act, you're pretty good at divorcing too.
Yes, and both skills are so painfully acquired. The acting skill gave me 6 Tony nominations and 2 Tony Awards and a permanent seat on Broadway. But the divorcing skill, because of one narcissistic, violent husband and a second unfaithful one with a harem of 3 mistresses, that one gave me a seat on Easy Street. And that's why I'm going to financially make it possible that starting immediately, you can stop writing blatant lies to lure unsuspecting readers into certain heartburn.
I can't let you do that.
Darling, haven't you figured it out? I can do whatever I want. And I very much want to do this. My life has become so boring. And the excitement thinking about this project makes everything worth whatever it will cost. Oh, by the way, have you sent that last restaurant review to the newspaper yet?
No. You haven't given me the chance yet. But I was just about to.
Okay, hold on a minute. I want you to read it to me, please. So maybe we can make some creative changes. Oh, I'm loving this already. Come on, let me hear it. First of all, what kind of restaurant is it?
Italian. Pseudo-Italian. Lots of undercooked garlic, tons of oregano, and a marinara sauce that could easily be surpassed by Heinz ketchup.
Okay. That is brilliant. Don't bother reading me what you've already written. Okay, for kicks, I want you to start your review with what you just told me and continue writing what you really thought about this place. And I want to hear it. So read it to me as you're writing it. This is going to be fabulous.
Let's see. The bread rolls are something I think they purchased at Home Depot. The pasta was so overcooked it would not only stick to the wall if thrown. Home Depot. It would also permanently seal in the cracks in the wall. I have no idea what the meat was in the main course, but the title of another of Tennessee Williams' plays comes to mind. The Night of the Iguana.
Oh!
Oh, and then the dessert. The desserts of biscotti were so hard they could have been served with a napkin embossed with the address of a dentist specializing in tooth repair.
Oh my goodness, this is hysterical. Let me see it.
Well, what did you do?
What do you mean? What did I do? I sent it to those sons of bitches. Oh, they need to read the truth. Oh, please. Why are you so upset anyway? They're not going to print it.
I am upset because they are going to print it. I've been feeding them this garbage they wanted for so long. They don't even proofread me.
Stop! Oh, that's even better. I can't wait to read the letters to the editor once the subscribers read that review.
Well, I guess I don't have any choice now.
No.
I need a job. I'm going to get canned for sure.
Okay, then let's get started. What is your full name? I'm writing you your first paycheck.
Adam Soziak.
So your middle name is Rip.
I never use my middle name.
Ah, but I have to have the full name for the production financial records.
Stanislaus.
I'm sorry.
It's Stanislaus.
Stanislaus? Adam Stanislaus Soziak.
Yeah.
Your initials are ASS.
I told you I never use my middle name.
Yeah, I can see why. I certainly wouldn't go monogramming ass on my bathroom towels if I were you.
You'd be the one who have to wash them.
So where does Rip handle come from anyway?
Well, it's another question I try to avoid. It's just complicated, especially from you.
There's no way that I'm going to write this check until you tell me.
I do need a job. It's short for Euripides.
Oh, my. Euripides. Uh-huh. The Greek playwright? Medea, Electra, Trojan Women, only to name a few of his plays.
Yes, that's the guy.
I can't wait to hear this.
Well, in college, I majored in the classics. I was an undergrad, and I took an advanced course with a phenomenal professor who had written his doctorate on the only 3 ancient Greek tragedians.
Tragedians. It's a fun word.
Some of those plays have survived in full only from those 3. Did I mention 3?
3.
So there were only 3 of us in the class. To make the course more interesting, he had us pick the name of one of them. Use only those names for each other while we were in the class. So Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides. For fun, outside of class, we called each other by the nicknames Esca, Sappho, and Rip. So now you have it, and knowing you, I'm sure you'll try to find some way of running with it. You'll want the characters to run around in togas. I don't know.
Of course not. Oh, but wait a minute. How brilliant and innovative would it be to bring authentic Greek tragedy overtones to a modern Broadway play? I don't recall if it's ever been done before. And darling, regarding the togas, they certainly would not be your everyday togas, but something a Holston designer would make for me. You know, he was the master of creating masterpieces from one piece of cloth. You know, the more I think about it, Euripides may have written Trojan Women, but his modern namesake is proving to be quite the Trojan horse. You are full of surprises. When you told me your first name, I got an idea. What did you say Claire's last name was? The one that she signed on the paintings.
Cortland.
Yes, like the apple, right? Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
there it is. It's the perfect title for our play.
Oh, what?
Adam's apple.
Oh.
Don't you see how perfect that is?
Yes, oh, yes. Very original. That'll pack them in. Standing room only. Every performance guaranteed.
Okay, all right, maybe not, but you know what? It was worth a shot. So, speaking of Claire's paintings, I would love to see some. How could I do that?
I have a couple of my favorites right here.
Oh, lovely.
One of my favorites.
Oh, wow. Oh, that is such a gift. Did she ever tell you what she was thinking about when she was painting, or what it meant to her after she completed it?
Oh, not really, because she said each painting had a different meaning each time she looked at it.
So, how would she know when a painting is finished?
Well, she always said the painting would scream at her. Stop!
Oh, dear.
She screamed, stop! She'd immediately drop the brush and move on to start another. Maybe not immediately, but when the muse prodded her.
Well, you know, the same kind of experience takes place in great theater. After attending an excellent production of a well-written play, every audience member takes home something different from the experience. Although everyone heard the same words, their meaning resonates differently with each individual.
Well, that's why many theater critics get it wrong. They try to superimpose their interpretation of the production onto their own readers.
Ugh. Don't get me started on drama critics. Although, in all fairness, there are some very good ones, and some very funny ones, too, yeah, okay. Present company included. So one of my favorites is Dorothy Parker. Okay, so once she was reviewing one of Katharine Hepburn's performances. Okay, and she wrote, "Last evening, Miss Hepburn ran the gauntlet of emotions from A to B."
Oh, I can see her review of our play now. "Last evening, I attended the opening night of Euripides and Marlene Dietrich Walk into a Bar. All the protagonists were able to do was blow enough hot air to keep the togas flowing."
Oh, very funny, very funny. But the more I'm learning about Claire, the more I am convinced we are onto something very worthwhile. Oh, the hell with the critics. We just said everyone should be free to critique any art form in a personal way and not be prejudiced by the interpretation of someone else. Why would somebody want to be a critic anyway?
You're asking the wrong person. To me, concepts of good and bad are purely subjective. Common definition of a critic is that they are an advocate for the audience, but does an audience need advocacy? People don't need someone to tell them if a joke is funny or if an event is sad. They don't need someone to help them understand the feelings they are experiencing when watching a play or looking at a painting. Do they?
Speaking of critics, what made them hire you as a food critic?
Cooking has always been my avocation. My mother was Italian. She loved to cook, and she'd cook with me alongside her. So I learned all her recipes. And then when I was in the seminary, we had a chef from Italy who was very innovative. Made delicious meals on a very low budget. And then in my rectory, I had an Italian housekeeper. She shared all of her family recipes with me.
But, no, you said earlier that at best you only opened a can of baked beans for dinner.
Well, I didn't say that was because I didn't know how to cook. It's just that I don't like cooking for myself.
Well, I hate eating by myself. Perhaps we could do something about that?
Like what?
I have the phone number to my housekeeper. You text her a list of all the ingredients you'll need to make us a nice dinner. You know what? In fact, you make that list long enough to make us several dinners, because we have a lot of work to do. Are you up for that?
Oh, why not?
Great. Any ideas of what you'll be making tonight?
Well, it's always easy for me to come up with food ideas. How does this sound? We'll start off with a pear and fennel salad, then a pasta course, linguine, clams, garlic, white wine, and lemon sauce. For an entree, ossobuco with mushroom risotto. We'll finish the wine with some pieces of Parmesan Reggiano. Add in some walnuts, maybe a drizzle of a reduced balsamic. And then for dessert, we'll have panna cotta, topped with seasonal berries. We'll finish off with espresso and a glass of sambuca.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Well, if that's the way we will be eating every night, I can tell you now it's going to take us much longer time to finish our project. In the meantime, I'm going to have 1 meal a day diet and a strict daily exercise regime. Oh, otherwise I'll need to arrange for the stage floor supports to be reinforced. Oh.
Let's see. Well, while I'm writing this, I would need to know if you have any allergies.
Just the one. Iguana.
When I finish this, I'll leave and get showered. And what time do you want me there?
Well, you get there whenever you need to in order to prepare that delicious dinner. Well, I am certainly reminded of Claude Rains' famous line at the end of Casablanca. Oh, dear. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. But instead of rounding up the usual suspects, I think I shall round up my usual Botox suppliers. Okay. Well, ciao, Bello.
Ciao, Bella.
You know, Rip, perhaps you should bring your toothbrush with you and add some breakfast items to that list. Well, one never knows, and besides, I do understand that panna cotta, like some other things, are best appreciated if kept overnight.